All right, hello everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on hot topics. Before Coach Shauna and I get started, just a couple of those normal items to take care of. We may have time for some more questions at the end of the presentation. You can type those into the question box in the lower portion of your control panel if you think of anything. We will be posting a recording of the webinar on our blog. The link will be shown at the end. And if you would like a PDF copy of the presentation, there will be a link to download that on that same post as the recording. If your question does not get answered today, please email our support inbox, which will be shown at the end as well. Okay, so today is all about you and what topics you're interested in knowing a little more about. There were a ton of great questions submitted at the last couple webinars via email and on social media, and we'll unfortunately not have time to answer every single one that was submitted, but we did try to get most of them, and we'll do our best to give you some great information today. And like I said, if you don't get your question answered, please do reach out. All right, let's dive right in. The first topic we're going to cover today is the keto diet. We had a question on covering some of the quote-unquote fad diets that are popular, but info on the keto diet was by far the most questions, or the most asked question that we received. So based on the short amount of time we have today and the interest in keto, we're going to stick to just this one. So let's start with the basics. What is the keto diet? Well, it's actually been around a long time. The full term is ketogenic, and it is a low carbohydrate, high fat, moderate protein diet. When you lower your carbohydrates enough, cutting out things like breads, pastas, sugars, your body goes into what is called ketosis, hence the name ketogenic. When this happens, your body turns to burning its own fat for energy rather than those carbs you are taking in, which then ideally leads to weight loss. There are some different variations, but for today, we're just going to stick with just the standard ketogenic diet, or SKD for short. So this is when your calories are typically made up of 75% fat, 20% protein, and 5% carbohydrates. So you're going to be heavier on things like your red meat, your fatty fish, eggs, butter, cheese, nuts, oils like coconut oil and olive oil, avocados, and then your lower carbohydrate veggies. What are you not going to be eating? Fruit, sugary foods and drinks, things like beans, potatoes, and your higher, starchier carbohydrate veggies, and alcohol, to name a few things that you're going to be staying away from. So why is this diet so popular? Why are we hearing so much more about it? Well, it can cause some pretty fast weight loss. And what do we all want? Fast results, right? When you cut out your carbs to very low levels, like on this diet, it usually causes weight to come off pretty quickly right away. Another reason people like this diet is with the higher protein and fat, you usually aren't hungry. Now, if you're changing your eating habits the right way, you technically shouldn't be hungry with any healthy eating plan, but that's unfortunately not the approach many of us take. We all think being hungry is part of the deal to lose weight, right? But with the keto structure, you most likely won't feel hungry by following it, and so that's a pro for a lot of people. This diet can also possibly help those that struggle with diabetes. This makes sense, right? If you're lowering your total carbohydrates, you're going to be cutting down on things like those breads and pastas and rice and sugars like I already mentioned. And if you've listened to any of our webinars in the past, you know how we feel about sugar. So this is going to be a positive. It is a pro for you. There are some researchers who have found that this kind of diet may help some other things like neurological disorders, something like epilepsy as well. Still needs lots more research, but hopefully it can help with certain conditions too, something that you'll hopefully hear more about in the future. Okay, everything sounds great, right? Sign me up. Well, let's talk about some reasons that this may not be right for you. First, it can be restrictive and hard to stick to, especially with those low carb levels. Some people have to fight through what is called the keto flu. This is temporary, but can include things like poor energy, mental function, nausea, sleep issues, digestive discomfort, or decreased exercise performance if you're an athlete. This is typically because of that sharp decrease in carbohydrates. Now, some people can ease into the diet with their carbohydrate levels, which can help with this keto flu, but it will lead to lower initial weight loss. And the last con that we'll touch on today, unless directed by a doctor, this diet is not typically used for long term. It can be a great kickstart, but when you're restricting certain elements of your eating, it's not something that's usually meant to be done forever. It can be a hard transition off and maintain your progress still. That's another con. It's really hard to transition off a lot of these fad diets, and this one is no different. We could do a whole webinar on this diet to like any of the other topics we're talking about today, but hopefully you got a little more insight on the keto specifically. And with any type of major eating change that you're thinking about, it's always extremely important that you do your research, talk with your doctor, especially if you have any other health concerns. Think about other aspects of your lifestyle too, like how much exercise you do, and if you need more carbohydrates for that, for this specific diet. Make the most informed decision that you can. What works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for another. And on that note, if you'd like to see long-term change, think small steps and small goals. The reason these quote-unquote diets come and go out of popularity is that the general population doesn't really stick with them for very long before falling off. Now, there are exceptions to this, of course, and like I said, this can be a great kickstart, but it's all for nothing if you don't have a good transition off to your normal eating, right? If you really want to change your lifestyle, in the end, you'll want to stick with eating foods that are realistic for you to eat, focus on lowering those processed foods, processed sugars specifically, eating more veggies, more fruits, more healthy whole grains, and good quality unprocessed proteins. So there's a little bit on the keto.
Some of the other requests we had was to discuss intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is currently one of the world's most popular health and fitness trends, mainly promoted as a weight loss solution. It involves alternating cycles of fasting and eating. That sounds simple enough, right? And since we already fast while we sleep, intermittent fasting just means I should extend that a little longer or start it earlier in the day. Turns out it's a bit more complicated than that. There are several different methods for it, all of which split the day and or the week into eating and fasting periods. Now, let me ask you a question. How many of you skip breakfast because either you don't have time or are not hungry? I'm guessing some of you might be mentally raising your hand right about now. Once intermittent fasting started popping up on our radars, you may have had the thought of, oh, that's me. I skip breakfast. I only eat lunch and dinner. I'm intermittent fasting, right? My next question is, have any of you been consistently losing weight after doing this for a significant amount of time? Intermittent fasting is a diet that's centered around just that, time. It doesn't say anything about which foods to eat, but rather when you should eat them. That being said, it shouldn't be a free-for-all to consume any and all calories you see fit during your eating window. Any potential benefits of fasting can be undone if you choose the wrong kinds of foods. Your focus should be on getting the most nutrient-dense foods during that eating window. On the other end of the spectrum is you must make sure that you're consuming enough quality calories during that time. If you don't eat enough for what your body requires, what your day-to-day lifestyle is, then your metabolism can slow down and weight loss can come to a standstill. Some of the barriers you should be aware of when debating about trying this out. Intermittent fasting is more structured than just deciding to eat and then deciding to stop. It takes thought and planning. If you're a night owl and enjoy social nights out on a routine basis, do you think starting your fast at 6 p.m. might work when everything happens after that? Or if you prefer early morning workouts followed by a recovery meal and or brunch dates with your friends, fasting until 1 p.m. might not be the greatest option either. Everyone is different. There's also a variety of possible health benefits to intermittent fasting, but it isn't just black and white. It all depends on all the factors that I mentioned above. Our body recovers and detoxes while we are sleeping. If this is done right, intermittent fasting can extend that body's natural cleansing process, which can have other benefits such as improved attention and alertness. It can lower inflammation and even possibly reduce risk of illness. Another benefit of intermittent fasting is just eating with more awareness. If you tend to snack mindlessly and consume too many calories, especially late at night, intermittent fasting might help you rein in those unhealthy behaviors by sticking to that eating window. Plain and simple, we're still kind of scratching the surface of trying to understand the role of intermittent fasting, especially in health and weight management. Like any diet, what can work for you can fail for another. If you're looking to get started, we definitely recommend speaking with a registered dietitian and or your doctor who can walk you safely through the best regimen for you and make sure that you are getting all of the necessary nutrients that you need.
All right, let's shift gears just a touch. Next question we had a general question on probiotics. So first, what is a probiotic and what does it do? Probiotics are microorganisms that, when you consume them, can have a lot of good health benefits. Gut health is the main benefit we're going to focus on today. Our gut has a major impact on our overall health, and it can impact things ranging from our immune system to our emotional health. We have good bacteria and bad bacteria in our gut. The goal with a probiotic is to have more healthy bacteria than bad. So what are some good probiotic foods? Yogurt is one. One thing with yogurt, make sure that it says it has active or live cultures. Otherwise, those probiotic benefits don't exist. And watch the overall sugar content in your yogurt, as sugars can negate those benefits. Kefir, which is in the same family as yogurt, is another option. That can usually be found right next to your yogurt in the dairy section. Most people with lactose intolerance can still do kefir. It's generally a better probiotic than yogurt as well, so it might be something to try. Other foods include fermented foods like sauerkraut, tempeh, which is just a fermented soybean product, kimchi, which is a Korean side dish, miso, which is a Japanese seasoning, also coming from soybeans, pickles, and kombucha. Kombucha has become more popular in recent years and is just fermented black or green tea. Now, this is certainly not the whole list of probiotic foods, but this can get you started. You can also take a probiotic supplement. We can't recommend a specific one, but there are some good options out there, and you can talk to your doctor about those. One side note is that there are other foods out there called prebiotics. Now, these are the types of dietary fiber that actually feed the good bacteria that is already in your gut. So your probiotics add to the good stuff, add good bacteria, and then you can eat prebiotics to make that healthy gut bacteria even stronger. Things like garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, bananas, barley, whole oats, apples, and flaxseed are a few options to look for. If you're looking for more info on gut health in general, we did do a webinar back in 2017 that is on our blog, so check that out as well. But as far as probiotics, that's some general info, and you can start getting some of those foods into your diet.
We did have a question about natural sweeteners and how to incorporate those into your diet. I believe most of us know we eat way too much sugar as just humans in general. The average American eats more than 230,000 calories worth of added sugar per year. That's the equivalent to almost half a pound a day or 130 pounds a year. And I know many of you might be thinking, there is no way that I eat that much. You might be surprised. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 6 teaspoons or 25 grams of added sugar daily for women and 9 teaspoons or 36 grams for men. If you'd like an idea of what 25 grams of added sugar is while eating relatively healthy, in the blog post at the end here where you'll find a lot of the slideshow and everything, we'll include an article with that can give you a little bit of idea and some pictures. Check it out. You'll see just how quick 25 grams adds up, even on that healthier diet. Okay, so what exactly is added sugar? Added sugar includes any sugars or caloric sweeteners that are added to foods or beverages during processing and preparation. That being said, we probably want to make the better choice of going with the, quote, natural sweetener option, right? It's not really that easy. When we're trying to clean up our diets, the first thing that comes to mind is refined sugar. I got to get rid of that white stuff. Can't eat it anymore. The next thought is to replace it with a natural, healthier option like honey, maple syrup, agave, or even stevia. But what if I told you that high fructose corn syrup, something we've been taught to avoid, is also considered a natural sweetener, since it comes from corn and does not contain anything artificial or synthetic? Would you rethink your options and become more mindful of sweeteners in general? I hope so. I think we can all agree that it gets complicated. There's so many options to choose from, and it seems like something new is popping up every month. The bottom line is, just because the label says natural, it doesn't mean that it's that much better for you. Our bodies react the same way to sugar, whether it's refined or natural, and trading one sugar for another isn't necessarily going to be healthier. Alternatives like agave, honey, and maple syrup are not considered better for us. They're just not quite as bad as the white stuff. If it comes down to a choice, yeah, go with the natural, but again, try to use less of it and stay within those guidelines provided by the American Heart Association. I'm going to end this slide with a quick note about stevia. Stevia is a natural plant-based sweetener, but it can be up to 300 times sweeter than plain sugar. It can also hit the pocketbook a little bit with the price. Since it's such a strong sweetener, it is important to use a very small amount of it. If you use too much and your palate expects that sweetness, think about if you were to run out and need to use something else in its place. Most likely, you're probably going to use much more than you need. The key takeaway is processed sugar and natural sugar, they're not all the same, but whichever you choose, none of it should be a huge part of your diet.
All right, switching gears to some exercise questions that we got. We had a question come in on whether or not you can do too much cardio. And I think it was directed mainly at too much running specifically. Cardio is fantastic for your health, but the answer is yes, you can be doing too much. Now, there isn't a set amount that you should stay under. Everyone's going to be different. But what I wanted to provide today were some symptoms, if you will, that should make you question if you're doing too much. So ask yourself these questions when the next time you feel like you might be doing too much cardio. First, are you injured a lot? Things like nagging soreness that just doesn't go away, stress fractures, things like that can be indicators that you're overdoing it. Your body needs rest to repair itself. Next, are you not losing weight like you think you should be? Wait, what? I thought I had to simply burn more calories with cardio to lose weight. Not for everyone and not forever, even if you do have success with just doing cardio right away. What happens is that your body becomes more efficient at cardio, so you have to do more and more to get that same calorie burn. It's really not super efficient. You can even lose muscle mass if you don't add some different things like strength training, which leads to a lower metabolic rate, which means that your body isn't burning as many calories at rest, which is the exact opposite of what we want if we're looking to lose weight or something, right? Same goes for creating a hard, firm body. You can lose weight with cardio, like I said, but if you're losing muscle along with the fat, you're not going to see that muscle definition you're looking for unless you add in some exercises to increase your lean mass to create a better muscle to fat ratio. We had a specific question submitted also about someone who was doing a boot camp class plus a cycling routine, and that person had very little weight loss. Now, there are many different variables to consider here, but you may be doing too much cardio. Are you pushing yourself too hard, do you think? You also need to consider your nutrition, which is a whole nother topic, but you have to consider if you're eating enough. If you push yourself that hard and don't refuel, your body is going to hold on to any energy that comes in. So take a look at those factors and see if you can change some things around. So back to this, next symptom of too much cardio, are you feeling tired all the time? Again, what? My health coach told me that I would get increased energy if I exercise. Yes, you absolutely will, but if you overdo it on the cardio, you can overstress your body. It cannot handle unlimited stressors. More is not always better when it comes to exercise. And last thing, are you not motivated to work out or even dreading your next run? This can mean you have a lack of variety in your exercise routine and, again, doing too much just cardio. This mental symptom is just as important as the physical ones and can lead to more people quitting even. That mental side is really, really hard. If we don't enjoy what we're doing, we're not going to stick with it. You don't have to love every workout that you do, but you should look forward to doing it most of the time. If you don't, you may be doing too much. Like I said, your body needs rest as much as it needs working out to stay healthy, especially as it becomes stronger. So keep a good balance in mind when you're planning your weekly workouts.
And focusing here on a specific workout, HIIT. We've all heard it before. We probably use it ourselves. I don't have time to exercise. Well, time is the most popular reason given for not adding exercise to your schedule. Work, family, and other extracurricular demands are taking any extra time that we have to dedicate to a workout routine. That's where HIIT can play a role. High intensity interval training, or HIIT, offers an effective and efficient way of training. Plain and simple, HIIT is a training technique that mixes short bursts of activity with even shorter rest periods. Ideally, you give it your all, or your highest intensity during those intervals. Because you are pushing yourself to those limits, these workouts tend to be shorter, rarely going longer than the 30 minutes. This is all that is needed for this workout to increase muscular and cardiovascular strength while possibly seeing some fat loss along with it. This is a big reason as to why HIIT is all the hype lately. Now, there are benefits and barriers to this type of workout. You typically see HIIT associated with strength training moves like burpees, squats, lunges, push-ups, but it can be flexible. You can incorporate it into almost any type of activity, including running, swimming, and cycling. HIIT allows you to work out anywhere and anytime. It is an efficient and convenient type of workout. Since you are giving almost maximum effort, you can burn calories in less time. Adding high-intensity intervals to your workout can help burn more fat during your sweat session and can even burn calories for a longer period of time after you're done. Searching for workout ideas is as simple as surfing the internet, where you'll find a wide variety of websites offering a large number of workout routines. Now, for those of you that do not have a gym membership or any equipment lying around at home, you're in luck, because strength HIIT workouts generally use just your body weight, those burpees and squats and lunges that I mentioned earlier. The focus of the workout is to get your heart rate up and keep it there. Another benefit is variety. One of the keys to motivation is changing it up on occasion, replacing the old and the boring with the new and the exciting. Now, kind of switching over to the barriers, something to be aware of when trying it out. It's not a beginner's workout. It is a highly demanding form of training, and it can put a strain on your body if done wrong. You need to progress into it. Diving straight into these types of workouts without proper training can lead to an increased risk of injury. That being said, you can still incorporate those intervals of higher intensity. Just make the small improvements until you're ready to give all-out HIIT a go. If you have not been active lately and you're looking to integrate exercise back into your lifestyle, be sure to start slow and build your way up. One final note is keep in mind that although HIIT is popular, it may not be for you. The name says it all. This is a high-intensity workout where you should deplete your energy and walk away sweating if you're doing it right. If this sounds terrible, then do not force yourself to do it, or you will always be searching for excuses. It is important to identify your likes and dislikes when it comes to an exercise routine. It's whatever you can commit to long term.
So on that same note, we had a question of someone that wasn't really at a point where they could do high intensity interval. They kind of wanted to talk about exercise for older adults, and specifically ones that may be dealing with arthritis or women who are around menopause age. Now, exercise is wonderful for every age. We know that. But it can be especially beneficial for older adults dealing with things like arthritis and menopause. I'm going to start with arthritis. Exercise can help greatly with pain management for arthritis. Range of motion exercises are very helpful, and that just includes moving your joints, your arms, your legs, your hips, fingers, whatever it is, through the full motion that they should be able to do. This will help stretch out those muscles and help the joints stay fluid and flexible. And you can do these anywhere and anytime. Aim to do some daily if you can. Again, your doctor is a great resource for exercises like this and what you should and shouldn't do. But another place to look is arthritis.org. It has some great workout routines to take a look at. And then doing things like walking, biking, water walking, or water aerobics are also great exercises for those with arthritis. They can keep that range of motion like we already talked about, but they can also help you control your weight, which is huge when it comes to how much pain you have. If you're not stressing your joints with as much overall weight, it's going to help. Strength training with things like hand weights helps tremendously as well. When you keep your muscle mass up, it helps to support and protect those joints. You can follow the same general rules for exercise frequency as any adult, shooting for 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week. So moderate exercise for you, not moderate exercise for someone that does high intensity intervals. And like I said, do this in addition to those range of motion exercises daily if you can. Now, this is all dependent on what your doctor says, of course. Follow their recommendations based on your own personal health. These exercises are great for those in menopause age as well, though. Doing what you can with moderate cardio and strength training will help keep that muscle mass that can be lost around the menopause age. Again, you don't have to join a boot camp or workouts that Shauna talked about. It's not about that. It's about staying active, moving your body. There are a lot of great exercises online that are specifically for older adults that you can try. again, with doctor's okay, of course. How about helping menopause symptoms? Try some yoga. There are many yogis out there who can help you find some poses. Otherwise, again, hit that internet for some good options as well. Your cardio, like Zumba, walking, elliptical, dancing, even your housework or yard work, if you up the intensity a little bit, can also increase your heart health because your risk for cardiovascular disease does increase as you enter menopause. So let's sum up. Any type of movement is going to benefit you any age, but truly as you get older. Anything will help. You don't have to run a marathon or be a bodybuilder to have the health benefits. Find something you enjoy, something you can do pain-free, and do it consistently. That is the key, consistency. Be creative, find someone who can exercise with you, or find a good YouTube channel that you can turn to at home or your lunch to get some movements in. We did do a women's health webinar last fall as well that does touch on exercise, so please check that out on our blog as well for some more in-depth information. All right, last couple topics here, and then we'll hopefully have some time for additional questions if you've got any. But we want to touch on stretching. We gave you some workouts. Now we want to talk about just as important part, the importance of stretching. Many people skip this part of their routines, but you should absolutely not skip it. I'm going to spend most of the time on after exercise stretching, so here's a quick list of why it's important. It increases your flexibility and range of motion. We just talked about range of motion exercises when we're older. If you stretch regularly throughout your whole life, your range of motion will stay nice and high as you get older. This helps you be able to continue to do the normal daily activities so that you can stay independent longer, especially for those older people out there. This can also help prevent injuries as your muscles won't get overstretched as much if you have good range of motion and you're flexible. Stretching after workouts also increases your circulation. Your blood is typically pumping hard during a workout, and stretching allows it to return to normal. This can also stop the production of lactic acid, which is produced in our muscles when we work out and leads to soreness. So if we stop that production, soreness goes down, right? And then it's just a great way to de-stress and relax after a workout. When we can take a minute to sit and reflect after a workout, it can help our energy and our mood. Now, there's many different kinds of stretching. Some involve just holding the stretch, which is called static. Some have you push against some resistance and then relax. That's called PNF. Some research points to that as one of the most effective ways to increase range of motion, so something to look into. Do a little research, chat with your doctor. Dynamic stretching involves doing movements that are similar to what you will be doing during the workout, and that's that type you want to stick with after you do your warm-up and before you get in your activity. Athletes will do this very frequently, but it's beneficial for everyone. And then you want to keep that static and that PNF for after workouts, after those muscles are nice and warm. But bottom line, stretching is very valuable and should be done after each workout and daily if possible. If you do it without a workout, just be sure to warm up those muscles. But again, stretching is too important to skip, so make sure you're taking the time to do it. All right, last topic, weighted blankets. We got a couple questions on these. They're very fashionable right now, but what is their purpose and do they work? First, if you haven't heard of them, they're basically just blankets but are filled with plastic pellets or something to make them heavier. They can range from 4 to 25 pounds. Some of the benefits that supposedly come from these blankets have to do with things like insomnia, so having trouble sleeping, anxiety, and even autism for kids and adults. There isn't much research at this point, but one study from 2015 in Sweden found that the men and women they watched who suffered from insomnia and used the blankets for 2 weeks did report calmer night sleeps. And when it comes to anxiety and emotional health, people report that it feels like a hug, or even an effect that's similar to swaddling babies, which we know has a calming effect. And honestly, if it makes you feel better to use, then in my mind it works, right? There's no studies that are really needed for that. Now, some of the cons, these blankets aren't super cheap, so that's a drawback that I can see. Also, you shouldn't let your toddlers or babies sleep with you or use these blankets because they can actually be heavy enough that they can get caught underneath. So just a couple things to keep in mind. I'm sure there's going to be more to come on these blankets, so stay tuned, but that's a little info for you there. All right, those are the end of our questions that we had before. We are right at the end of the time limit here, so unfortunately we're not going to have some time to answer all the rest of the questions, but like I said, please do go email us. This will be our contact information. I'll come back to the webinars here. So healthcoach@healthcheck360.com is the best email address to use for questions, or you can give us a call. You can schedule a health coaching call. We do have our blog. Like I said, this webinar will be posted. We have those past webinars with all sorts of different topics if you want to go more in depth with some of the stuff that we talked about today. We are on social media as well, so check us out there. And then next webinar is coming up, financial wellness next month. We will have an expert on financial wellness come in to join us to answer some questions that you've got. So if you have any financial questions, you can send those our way as well. And then in May, we're going to talk about some fresh finds, getting more veggies into your life. All right, I think that's it. Thanks so much for joining, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.